Alright, so we are in day 1 of Pinnacle 3, first round matchup between Dog and Ek0p. Take a look at the deck list there. Pretty standard stuff from Dog. You see Druid, Hunter, Mage, and Rogue. From Ek0p, a little different. You see Mage, Paladin, Rogue, and Warlock. Something to note here is that Ek0p did not actually bring Druid to the tournament, which is kind of strange to me because Druid is usually a staple in tournament decks, especially in a best of 5 system like this. I'm not really sure why he didn't bring it. Maybe it has something to do with the comp of the rest of his decks. Also interesting to note is Ek0p is playing Warlock as well, and nowadays you can't really tell what Warlock people are playing. You can pretty much rule out Zoo, but in a tournament you never know. And if that's Handlock, it's going to be a pretty bad matchup against Dog's Hunter. So that'll be an interesting development as well. It could also entirely be a Demon Lock, which has seen a huge rise in popularity lately. As we see the mulligan here, you can see Ek0p is playing Oil Rogue, pretty standard, but Dog on the other side is playing Freeze Mage, and he's actually more well known for this deck. He is one of the better Freeze Mage players out there. As you see, Ek0p keeps his whole hand, which is kind of interesting because from my experience, Deadly Poison is a pretty dead card in this matchup, aside from trying to clear Doomsayers and for burst damage, so I'm not entirely sure why he kept that. As we see Dog dropping the Loot Hoarder here just to get the cycles going. He also kept the Earthen Ring Farseer, which could pay off after killing these 2 Loot Hoarders, but most of the time that's a fairly useless card in this matchup as well, aside from post Alexstrasza. As you see, Dog just drops another Loot Hoarder into the Dagger. Doesn't really matter, he's just using it for a cycle, and he also does pick up Arcane Intellect there. Ek0p is also going to get some value out of this Earthen Ring Farseer immediately, which is pretty good. We'll most likely just see Arcane Intellect from Dog here. Thinking about Frostbolting the Farseer, but I'd say in general it's not worth it in this matchup. Frostbolt is one of your main enablers for your burst damage at the end, so throwing one away immediately is usually not the best thing. He also gets a basically free Arcane Intellect here, and he does pick up a Doomsayer. Ek0p just dropping the Violet Teacher upon drawing the second one. Didn't really have another play there, and we see Dog picks up an Ice Block. That's 2 secrets in his hand and a Mad Scientist. Not really what you want to see. It does look like that Mad Scientist will come down though, possibly as well as the Frostbolt, just to be mana efficient and make sure you don't mill yourself. So Mad Scientist comes down, and he actually Frostbolts the Violet Teacher here, which is pretty interesting. It does freeze it for a turn. It also does kind of indicate a Blizzard in the near future. As Ek0p is just going to cycle the Fan here, it looks like, because Fan and Knives in this matchup is about as useful as a butter knife at Morton's Steakhouse. So it'll probably be Fan Dagger to kill the Scientist here. You also do get a 1/1 out of it. Pretty solid turn from Ek0p there, and he does keep the pressure on with the 3 damage from the Farseer. Pretty good stuff from Ek0p here. I wonder if his muscle in his left index finger is going to be hurting after this tournament, because he's putting the entire weight of his head on that finger. Same with Dog, actually. Maybe they just maybe that's a thing. So as we see the knuckle crack and ping from Dog there, pretty intimidating stuff. He did pick up an Ice Block and an Ice Barrier as secrets there, and the ping on the Farseer there is pretty much a better telegraph than Germany's nuclear warfare in Germany's nuclear development, that is, in World War II. Wow, that was a poorly delivered joke. What I'm trying to say is pinging that Farseer is a pretty much guaranteed tell to Ek0p that there's a Blizzard in Dog's hand. So the correct play here may be to heal the Violet Teacher with Earthen Ring Farseer. It may also be correct to just not do anything, but given in this matchup you want to keep the pressure on, I think just playing Farseer and healing the Teacher is a good play. That Teacher will still be frozen, but it won't be dead, which is good enough in most cases. As we see Ek0p getting the rope there. I can't really see any other play besides holding back or healing the teacher, so we'll see what he goes with here. Those lightning storms behind the Violet teacher animation could do no good except for speed Ek0p's thinking up, and he does choose to pass there. So a couple different ways he could have played that. Without a doubt, Blizzard coming down from Dog here. Good read by Ek0p, even though it was fairly obvious. And that lets him set up his Violet teacher this turn as well. Pretty much gets him back to his board state that he was at before. And as we see in Dog's hand, he doesn't really have an answer for the second Violet teacher here. He does have a Doomsayer, but no Frost Nova. So he might just have to eat this damage here. And Ek0p's actually going to SI7 the face here, it looks like, which is a huge tempo play. Usually you want to hold back on those SI7s just for the extra damage on the Doomsayer if you can, but he looks like he's just going to try to keep the pressure on by dropping it as a 3-3, and we see a Cone of Cold here. That's actually not a bad pickup. We could see an Arcane Intellect and Cone of Cold turn here. I don't know, obviously that secret on the mage is an ice block at the moment, so no room for Dog to drop a secret here, unless he wants to Frostbolt, which he doesn't because that would be a second Frostbolt. I envision this turn being Cone of Cold and Arcane Intellect, and he actually is going to drop the Doomsayer here. Pretty risky stuff. I mean, you risk just losing a Doomsayer, which it looks like he's going to because Ek0p has sufficient damage in his hand. But this also does set up a situation where if you draw a Flame Strike, you can again clear the board. And you're also using a lot of Ek0p's burn to take out the 0-7. So we may just see a double... we may see double poison Deckhand Blade Flurry here. I think that would be the most efficient play. It lets you develop a 2-1, kills a Doomsayer, and you end up with 10 damage to the face of Dog. Eviscerate is another option there, but I don't really like it at this point in time. This way you get 2 1-1s and a 2-1. Yep, that looks like the play he's going to go with here. So he is going to do 10 damage to the face of Dog, as well as clear the Doomsayer. Very solid turn from Ek0p there, and Dog looks to be in a little bit of trouble here. He doesn't really have much burn. He does have 2 ice blocks to give him a little time, but he doesn't have much burn and he doesn't have much board clear. Flame Strike would have been a huge pickup there, but he doesn't catch it. Frost Nova is a pretty good pickup there as well. He's just going to go ahead and use it straight away, it looks like. Holding back a little bit. Frost Nova is good here, but it doesn't really take care of anything. It does prevent your bubble from getting popped, however, which is always good when playing Freeze Mage if you can just give yourself another turn. So we do see the freeze there, and Dog has sufficiently moved the microphone part of his headset up above his head, probably to indicate a higher meta than Ek0p, who has kept his microphone down by his mouth like a casual player would. As we see, just dagger pass from Ek0p, and Dog actually picks up an Ice Lance there, which means his amount of burn just significantly increased, and he is looking like he's going to evaluate Alexstrasza here. With Blood Mage, Frostbolt, Ice Lance, and Fireball, we are looking at 16 damage next turn from Dog. So assuming no healing from the Rogue, this could actually be game. Obviously we see the Farseer in Ek0p's hand. Coupled with the Sprint is actually a pretty huge draw. I don't envision any scenario where Ek0p doesn't use the Farseer here. Dog has pretty much just told him that he can kill him if he doesn't heal. And Dog is actually going to be 2 off lethal after that Farseer. You may also consider using Eviscerate to kill the Alexstrasza. You may also consider just sapping the Alexstrasza, because after that initial damage. With both players at such low life, as you see, he's just going to go for the ice block pop first. That's a given, which indicates a sap play, which I think is better anyway. That Alexstrasza basically holds no value after it just being played now. So we'll probably see Farseer Dagger and sap, which means Dog will actually not be able to play his full array of spells because he's going to have to drop another ice block. We may see Ice Barrier as well. I wouldn't see why not. And maybe an Acolyte for card draw. Pretty solid turn from Ek0p there as well. Flame Strike is actually a huge draw here, but it actually wouldn't be that great because Ek0p could just pop the block again. So we're going to see... I actually like this play from Dog here. He's just going to go for the burst to the face with another ice block down, and upon drawing that Pyroblast, he has pretty much sealed his win right here. Ek0p down to 5 life. Not even room on the board to play a heal bot should he have drawn it. That's going to look like game 1 goes to Dog here. Something to do with the microphone being up above his head and those eyebrows of determination just helped him pull this game out. We see a late Tinker Sharpsword Oil and Prep for Ek0p here. Those cards would have been much better earlier in the matchup. Kind of unlucky draws from Ek0p. He did play the matchup pretty well, but this matchup is severely favored in the Freeze Mage's favor. How's that for a double statement? Freeze Mage is heavily favored in this, much for the same reason that Warrior is heavily favored against Rogue, in that Rogue just doesn't have enough damage over time to usually take out the Freeze Mage. So Dog does take game 1 there, takes out Ek0p's Rogue with Freeze Mage, and we will go on to round 2 here. To counter Freeze Mage, I would say that probably Mech Mage or the Warlock would be the best pick. If that Warlock is Handlock, Handlock is slightly favored against Freeze Mage from my experience. So that might be a good pick, but we'll see you in the next video.